This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Well, hello, my friends, and welcome back to CWK Live every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm your host, Dan Zare, thrilled to be talking Star Wars with each and every one of you. Look at our friends here joining us live. It's so great to see all of you. Minta rings in first with This Is the Way. It's CWK Day. Hello, Minta. Good to see you. Mary says, Happy No, wait. Happy Tuesday, everyone. Mary, it's great to see you, of course, on CWK Live. Jason is here as well. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here with you tonight. Jason, it's great to see you, my friend. Jamie rings in and reminds us that this is, in fact, a holiday. Happy Andor Eve, because tomorrow, the first 3 episodes of Andor are going to drop on Disney+. So I know what all of you are going to be doing. Blake is here. Hey, CWK fam. Good to see you, buddy. How's life going? How's the... I didn't watch the Cubs game against the Marlins because I just know they're not going to win. But hopefully you have a good time watching it. Ben is here. Happy Tuesday to you, Ben. Great to see you. And Ross says, what a week we have in store. Yes, indeed, my friend. Josh, happy Andor Eve to you as well. Yes, so if you may have noticed, on coffeewithkenobi.com, I posted all over social media, my review of the first 4 episodes of Andor are up. It is spoiler-free. I don't go into any plot details of any kind. You know how I am. I don't give anything away. Just kind of give you an idea of kind of the tone and atmosphere of Andor and what it is like. Hello, Terry. What is up, man? Good to see Terry back on the program, too. Good to see you, my friend. So, yeah, I've seen... Well, you know what? Let's just jump into what's brewing in the world of Star Wars, and we'll get into all of that. But I guess before we do, let me remind you, tonight we're going to give you top 5 moments from Light and Magic Morphing, and no more pretending you're dinosaurs. I've got a CWK announcement, and it's not posted here, but I'm going to give you a video tour of Lucasfilm booth at the D23 Expo. So let's go ahead and see what's brewing in the world of Star Wars this week.
And now, let's see what's brewing in the Star Wars universe this week.
Sounds good. Yes. So, I have seen the first 4 episodes of Andor. Of course, I won't spoil anything. I've been dying to tell you about this. I've actually seen them. I saw them in July, either late July or early August. So I've been sitting on this for a long time, and again, not going to spoil it. You can go read my review on coffeewithkenobi.com. The only thing I'm going to say here is that it is certainly not for small children, in my opinion. The best way I can explain that is Mason won't be watching this one yet. He's 9. He's a little young, I think, for some of the mature themes and ideas. But if you are a mature fan, or a fan who likes their entertainment a little more gritty, Andor is it. I love it. It's very different from what we're used to, but it's really, really something else. Really something else. I don't want to give away anything. Of course, next week we're going to talk about it in great, great detail. But I just wanted to tell you, you're in for a treat. Now, there are only 3 episodes, not only 3 episodes drop tomorrow. And, if you want to watch them before you go to work, you're going to have to wake up early. I will say that. But, just stay off Twitter until you watch them, and then you can kind of just enjoy the discourse, which reminds me I got to set up some posts for tomorrow for Facebook, and I will certainly do just that. Okay, so what's brewing in the world of Star Wars? I posted this earlier. Well, first you already knew about this. The Galactic Star Cruiser Tour. If you want to join me and MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, that is next summer, June 12th to 14th. I checked with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel before this conversation, and there are some rooms left, but not very many. There are only 100 cabins total on the Star Cruiser, and they are going quickly. We've got quite a group that are joining us on the ship, on the voyage, on the journey. I'm going to be bringing my son Mason. It will be his birthday on June 12th, so we'll all get to celebrate that together. Corey and Tom will be with me, and a lot of other of our friends, including Terry, who's going to do it. Looking forward to the Star Cruiser very much, Terry. I can't wait. I can't wait to meet you and play some sabacc with you, my friend. It's going to be so fun. And tour Batu. Amita says, Andor sounds really promising. I think you will like it. Blake says, do you think casual fans like the ones who love Mando will be surprised by the tone? Yes, I do. I really do. I think it's, think Rogue One. Think Rogue One. And then that'll give you kind of an idea. Ben says, I won't get home from class until 10:30 tomorrow, so I will be avoiding all the social smart. Ben, I think you will be happy you did. And look at Mary says, ditto. So Mary's going to be on the Star Cruiser with us as well. Jason says, Ben, may the force be with you on that. Yeah, no kidding. Avoiding socials is a good idea, especially when there's a show you don't want to have ruined for you. Terry says, I got to ask Mason to teach me how to play it first. Well, Mason will be happy to do that for you, Terry. All right, so yes, that is... that's the Star Cruiser again. Be sure, if you want to do it, you have to go to coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and tell them you're with me and Coffee with Kenobi in our group so they can put you with us. That will make a big, big difference, and I think you'll be glad that you did. I posted this the other day, but Friday, September 30th, I'm actually going to be on the other coast. I'm going to be on the East Coast. I'm going to be at Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios on September 30th. That is my actual birthday. If you are in Hollywood Studios on that day, I will be in front of the Millennium Falcon at 6 o'clock p.m. celebrating my birthday. I will have a number of family and friends with me, and if you're around, I'd love to see you and say hello to you at Galaxy's Edge. I really can't think of any better place to celebrate my birthday than with some of my favorite people. So if you're there, I would love to see you. Of course, I know it's asking a lot, and naturally it's really short notice, and a lot of people aren't in the Orlando area anyway. But if you are, and I know a lot of you listening are, I would love to see you in front of the Falcon on Friday, September 30th. That is, just 10 days away, in front of the Millennium Falcon. This is again at Disney's Hollywood Studios in Orlando, Florida. Super fun. All right, a fun little thing. When I get a chance to do things like that, I want to be sure to include all of those things with you. So now, let's do this. I did a video. I did it on Facebook. It was a live one, but it was like I didn't even announce it. I just did it because I was there. There was nothing on my schedule, and it was a perfect time. It was actually that moment. I think it was on Saturday afternoon. The booth was fairly empty, so I was like, this is a great opportunity. So I'm going to walk you through, and I'll talk you through some of the things that we got to see at the Lucasfilm booth. Again, this is at the Lucasfilm booth at the D23 Expo a couple of weeks ago. So there you go. I wanted to show you that in case you missed the live footage on Facebook Live. To give you an idea of the amazing details and what it looked like. My goal on all these things I want you to feel like you're there with me. A big reason why I'm able to do any of this cool stuff is because of you and the CWK Alliance. Alliance members support me in the show. They get something back, of course, with our CWK Pour Over, which is our weekly exclusive podcast. But you allow me and enable me to live this amazing life that I live, and I can't thank you enough for that. Let me push this up here. A lot of people ask me about this all the time. How do I join the Alliance? You just go to coffeewithkenobi.com/CWK Alliance. And for as little as $5 a month, you can support me in the show, get exclusive access to podcasts and videos not seen or heard anywhere else. Blake says, I want Dan to wear an Indy hat one night on CWK Live. That would be epic. Okay, so, I could do that. I could absolutely do that. And you know why? I don't think I ever told the story. So I'll tell you what, Blake, at the end of the show, remind me to tell you about my Indiana Jones costume that I have. But let's go ahead and talk about the category for tonight. Top 5 moments from Light and Magic, episodes 5 and 6. So we had to combine them both into one night, only because tomorrow Andor starts, and that's going to be 3 episodes. So I really wanted to do that. So the top 5 moments from Light and Magic. Episode 5 is Morphing, and episode 6 is called No More Pretending You're Dinosaurs, which is has a story all its own. Josh says we need to do Indie Hat Night. That's fine with me. I'm more than up for that. That might be a kind of a fun thing to do for Celebration if anybody goes to Celebration London. All right, so number 5 for me, it was really hard. I really feel like they're both good. Episode 6, No More Pretending We're Dinosaurs. That episode to me, there were like 10 moments in that one. And I always say, oh, this one's my favorite. This one's my favorite. They're all my favorite, I guess. But episode 6 is just so full of them. But I tried to share the wealth. So number 5 for me is Doug Chang's story. That is, I believe, in the 5th episode. And while it's just kind of a brief moment, I love Doug Chang. I mean, I love his art. I love his talent. I love his passion. I love how he wanted to do this. He made very much an identity for himself in the industry. And then he's the lead designer for episode 1. And does all the stuff. He's responsible for so much stuff in Galaxy's Edge and the Galactic Star Cruiser. And I had the good fortune to interview him earlier this year. Gosh, time really flies. On the Galactic Star Cruiser event. I just think he's a wonderful man and a very huge talent. So it's like kind of a personal bias, but I love him. Jason says, I love the story behind the episode 6 title of this series. I know, isn't it great? Blake says, I fell behind and only got through episode 5 after a 9-hour workday, but I'm so ready. No problem, man. No problem. Episode 6 will be waiting for you. Mary says putting the 2 episodes together was fine. Well, I'm glad. Minta's number 5, it was humbling to see how they started out with a digital era with The Abyss. Yes, the steady progression of these and how they're building upon previous technologies and experiences I like that as well. Jamie says, I got through 5 and some of 6. Sounds like I really need to finish episode 6. Episode 6 is so good. Especially when they start talking about Marvel and Mando. And oh yeah, it's so good. Jason, number 5, is Steven Spielberg moving Phil Tippett into a directorial role on Jurassic Park and getting the other model animators involved in a meaningful way. Such respect for the artists who had given so much of themselves to the filmmaking industry. You know, that could easily be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for me. That whole thing with Phil Tippett. And I didn't put it on here specifically, but you'll see later how I fit it in. But I agree with you, Jason. That was so good. Ross's 5, the collage of memories of current and former ILM members closing out the final episode. The story can never be replicated. It was really lovely, wasn't it? Number 5, for Mary, the animators being dinosaurs was hilarious. The video of them learning how to move like dinosaurs was great. Then the one animator fell and broke his arm, which ended acting like dinosaurs, hence the title of this episode. Yes, it was like, oh no, but it was kind of cool. When you saw them running around, you just kind of get that place of reference because you're familiar with Jurassic Park. And you can see it. You can see how it inspires them. It's almost like the old classic Disney animators videoing themselves dancing and then animating that, and then they know how to make things move. Terry says, Doug Chang is an amazing person. Love his vision and how it was applied. I agree with you so much. Ben, George's story of moving digital, getting all the theaters to adapt it for Phantom Menace, changing the industry, and ended up with a National Medal of Technology. I love the recognition George and Island received. Yes, and the fact that he gave out those, $100,000 cameras to all these theaters so people could show it the way he wanted to be seen, which is amazing. Blake's number 5, Ron Howard with a giant red mustache, which inspired me as a redhead. In his Star Tours hat, he wore the old footage. We all need those hats given. I think that's the best Star Wars attraction. I recorded a bunch of stuff before this, so I lost my voice. How about that? Jamie's 5, being introduced to Doug Chang. Loved the story of how he won a car with his student film. Wasn't that cool? I love that too. I thought that was, and he was so even when he told the story, he was legitimately kind of tickled by it, which I thought was great. All right, let's go to number 4. Number 4 for me is the creation of the T-1000. Okay, number 4 for Minta is Doug Chang's story. Number 4 for Jamie is T2 as well, especially the sequence of how they had to pass through the prison bars and the logic behind how it would play in real life with the gun then getting stuck. And I love how that's like a story point. Like, you know what? This is how incredible this is because the gun's still metal, but it doesn't have the organic nature that the T-1000 does. Yeah, that was cool. Ben's number 4 is Spaz and Mark, the hockey, the story of how they met, the party stories, the chaos of them starting the computer graphics department. They're my favorite Found My People story. Number 4 for Jason, Dennis Muren reading an 1,800-page book on computer graphics. Such an incredible level of dedication to his art. I probably wouldn't have made it past page 1. I was thinking about that level of commitment too. Pretty cool. Number 4 for, I missed Blake. Doug Chang's backstory. He's someone I watched in behind-the-scenes Star Wars documentaries since I was a kid. It means a lot to me to see where he came from. Yeah, you'd love him. He's so cool. He's like Corey Club's hero, by the way, of course. Mary's number 4, Morphing being developed was amazing. Spelled with an F, not a PH, from the creation of the water creature in the abyss. Robert Patrick's character in Terminator 2. The evolution there. Number 4 for Ross, The Pit. Mark Dippes and Spaz Williams nurtured an unwinding space and creative cave. I know I was thinking about how would I handle working in that environment. I would love them, and I would have had a great time with them, but the environment, I had a lot more structured, so that would have been really interesting. But obviously, it all worked out, obviously. Let's go to number 3. Number 3 at the end, Spaz of part 5, Morphing. Spaz says, there's nothing worse than not trying. I think that's the last bit of dialogue in the 5th episode, but as soon as I heard that, I paused it, I ran over to my desk, I grabbed a piece of paper, and I wrote that quote down. Now, I love that. I mean, as a teacher, as a parent, as a human being, I think that's such an important message. There's nothing worse than not trying. There's just that desire. This is part of why ILM is so successful and why their work will stand the test of time, because they don't give up. And even when it's really, really hard, I mean really hard, pressure like you can't imagine, but they don't give up. As Spaz says, there's nothing worse than not trying. I think that's so cool. Number 3 for me, seeing the comparison of the stop motion and the digital animation for Jurassic Park was mind-blowing. I agree. It would have been interesting to see the stop motion in the film, and I'm glad they took a different direction. Honestly, it's so good. And I actually thought, well, gosh, is the kitchen scene with the raptors, is that stop motion? And in a way, it kind of is, isn't it, Mita? It's like, it's digital stop motion. Pretty neat. Number 3 for Ross is the Willow morphing that changed filmmaking and made Ron Howard a believer. I always like these confessionals where the filmmakers are like, wow, this made me believe it. It's just really neat. And you see that with Favreau at the end of the 6th one, too. Jason's 3, Doug Chang giving himself daily drawing assignments to improve his art skills, which eventually led to him becoming the head of the art department on the prequel trilogy. Mind-blowingly cool, isn't it? Terry, so many achievements seem to have happened by just trying things out to see what would happen. Yeah. Think about how different things could have been if they didn't push the limits. We wouldn't be here, you know? It's really neat. Jamie's 3. The evolution of digital, that was also difficult to watch. The challenges for those not ready for the change, and how their lives are impacted. I found that to be, kind of heartbreaking, and I like that they evolved. Like Phil obviously evolved, and they found something for him. His story at the end was daughter. I mean, come on, it's so good. But yeah, I agree with you. That was difficult, Jamie. I agree. Way of the world, I guess, but still difficult. Blake's 3 is seeing James Cameron talk about special effects in The Abyss. Honestly, I've never seen that movie, but I think anyone who loves Hollywood special effects history knows how important that film was. I'm the same way. I've never seen it. I know how impactful and important that sequence is, and I know I know it's a hole in my resume. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Blake. Mary's 3, Mark and Spaz's story, but then when they talk about how CGI started taking away the model department, specifically Phil Tippett, was really interesting. How Spielberg wanted to make sure Phil was involved and taking control of the development of the dinosaurs, which was amazing. And it shows the generosity of Spielberg, too. The volume for Ben is 3. Specifically, Kathleen's comment to George, we're executing on everything you wanted us to do. Good quote. Showing George how he inspired everyone, then they all just sat there and soaked up every word he said. And he's like a proud pop, isn't he? He's looking around, talking about everything and just telling stories. I mean, who wouldn't lap that up and enjoy every second of that? Love that. All right, let's go to number 2. 2 for me, the Dinosaur Dream Team. Everything about the evolution of the dinosaurs and how they combine like Stan Winston's amazing, insane puppet work, larger than life, literally. And then Phil Tippett's stop motion, and then the computer work they were doing, and how they kind of ambushed Kathy Kennedy with the whole, I'm just at this, dinosaur running, we're just practicing some stuff. I didn't, he was just really casual. It was brilliant. It was smart. I love him. It was just so neat. And just how it all, and they got like their dream team, and Spielberg just, makes it happen, and they combine everything together. I love at the end of part 5, right before they start episode 6, how they show that iconic sequence of the T-Rex's foot stepping in that mud. And then you just know we're in for something. And how Kathleen Kennedy and everyone, they remember seeing the first test in that screening room at Lucasfilm, and how they, like, there was a standing ovation. I mean, everything about that was just dynamite. Absolutely dynamite. Okay, let's see what you all have here. Minta's too. George's dream since the beginning of Star Wars, he wanted to use digital technology to make stories believable, and that dream finally came true for the prequels. And boy, did it ever. That was almost my number one, by the way. Ross's too is Doug Chang's backstory and introduction to ILM/Lucasfilm, and all of his storyboards for The Phantom Menace. Isn't that great? Like, what do you make? How many did they say? I don't remember the math on it, but it's like over 2,000, right? Crazy. Mary's number two is Doug Chang. Ditto to everything everyone else has said. I could listen to him for hours. Did not realize he's only 1 year younger than me. He is, both of you have aged with so much grace. Kudos to both of you, Mary. Jason's number two, if you believe in something, there's nothing worse than not trying. Yes, my number three is your number two. It's a great quote. Number two for Jamie, the reveal story when they showed the walking T-Rex for the first time to select group, and the events led up to it, same as you, Dan. Well, awesome. I love it. Hey, I'm proud to have on the same wavelength with you, bud. Terry's number two, the integration of practical props and CGI. There's so much in The Mandalorian that it's difficult to discern what is real or CGI. I know, and I still feel that way about Jurassic Park when I'm watching these making ofs. I'm like, whoa, that's real. That's CGI. That's, I never know. Pretty cool. Darren is here. Hello, Darren. Darren's number two is how they mix the digital effects with practical on T2. There was more practical effects than I first thought, but the mixture was amazing. Exactly how I feel, Darren. And I think that's what Island would want us to feel too, which is so neat. Ben's two is everything Jurassic Park. A personal moment for me. Jurassic Park had such an impact on me growing up. I was truly frightened by the kitchen scene. I understand that. But as I watched how they made it, I was grinning ear to ear as I relived the magic of my childhood. And they just make you believe. And when Spielberg and everyone are saying, you know what? Now I can do anything. You got to have a good story. And I'm really glad, of course, as a person who loves studying story, I really love that they make sure to say, story's got to be there. But now we got no excuses. We can tell any story. Pretty cool. Number two for Blake. I was going to make this number one, but I haven't seen the last episode yet. I know it covers Jurassic Park, which I'm fortunate enough to have been alive for when it came out. That original film was as mind-blowing to me as a kid in the era that Star Wars was to my dad in 1977. I think that's fair, Blake. I agree. It was such a big deal. I remember that summer so well. So incredibly well. We were just at the movie theater all the time to see it, and you would bring people who had never seen it before, and you just got that thrill. I remember going with my mom, and she'd never seen it, and all the seats were taken, so we had to sit in the very front row. So imagine seeing Jurassic Park where you don't know what to expect, and you're in the very front row at a movie theater. It was intense, man. It was intense. All right, time for number one. From episodes 5 and 6 of Light and Magic, what is my number one? Unpretentious and brilliant. Now, I could have made it Phil Tippett's very last line about his daughter and her saying, "Dad, I think I'm too old for her toys." He says, "You know what? Be a filmmaker, and you never have to grow up." And then they ran outside and filmed, and that gave me goosebumps. It was just wonderful. I think Phil Tippett has our hearts after this whole series. But I picked number one. Ron Howard described ILM as, quote, unpretentious and brilliant. That is like such an amazing compliment, and exactly why I think I'm so drawn to ILM and the creativity of them is they have all the reason in the world to be very arrogant and crass and dismissive of people, but they're the opposite. They're just curious. They're lifelong learners. They're lifelong collaborators, and they're visionaries, but they're unpretentious and brilliant. And that is, I think, all you could ever ask for from a creative, all you could ever hope for from meeting someone the level of genius that ILM is. Magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. Number one for me, to seeing the set of The Mandalorian, how it's done is remarkable. And the digital technology will continue to evolve to make stories amazing. Hear, hear. Terry's number one, the way Lawrence Kasdan decided to tell a story didn't feel like a documentary. He presented it in an artistic and moving way. Terry, that's great. I don't think we talk enough about how Kasdan directed this thing, and it is brilliant. Number one for Ross, all the creative, hardworking individuals find their way and thrive in a creative environment, pushing and inspiring each other, not just drones answering to a boss, Problem solvers making the world better and more interesting. Beautifully said, Ross. I could not agree more. Very, very well done. Number one for Jason. I just told him you can do it. George Lucas is such an inspiring artist, visionary, and leader. He's amazing to behold. I just told him you can do it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I didn't put on here, but seeing, the work that George had to do with episode 1 and calling in Doug Chang and then calling in John Knoll. John Knoll's story could easily be my number 1 as well. And how he's like, let's use this actor for this take and this for this. And, and just all the digital revolutions they made and how George kept looking at John going, I know your head hurts. I know this is driving you crazy, but let's just try it. And Noel's like, we have the composite and the lighting. And he's like, let's just try it. I love that. I can't wait to talk to my oldest Peyton about that because he's a filmmaker too. So I'm sure he can empathize. Darren's number one. The imagination at work and the way the team came up with original ideas that work so well on screen, being so inventive. Yes, great, Darren. I love that too. Brilliant. Mary's number 1. John, Noel, and George working together on the prequels. Plus the entire fabric of John's story from his beginning at Island to the new shows. Had to add an honorable mention for the last few minutes of the final episode with all the employees' reflections of their time. Yeah, and people getting choked up. Pretty neat. Jason, no worries, man. Totally good. Blake's number 1, he says, is weird. I'm typing on an iPad that's probably 100 times the power of the tech those guys at ILM were using. In the 80s and 90s, the fact they continued to change Hollywood. Film after film with what they had blows my mind till this day. Those early guys from the 70s and 90s changed my imagination forever, and I'll always appreciate that. Yes, that's a good one to end on, Blake. I like that very much. Oh, Ben's got number 1. The first dinosaur shot and everyone's reactions to it, but then how it impacted Phil. Everyone, including Spielberg, rallied around him to make sure he had a place in this new world. Beautiful technological breakthrough, but Phil wasn't going to be left behind. And you can't. I mean, he's so important to everything. And the fact that he knows how animals work and move. And I mean, there's you surround yourself with good people. You don't compromise with your talent and who you are, and you're kind. And good things happen. Good things happen. So that's so good. All right, so next week, as you all know, as we've been talking about, next week we got 3 episodes of Andor, and one of you inspired me to say this. I think it was Mary. I can't quite remember who, so I apologize. But it'll be a long episode. It'll be a top 10 moments from Andor episodes 1 to 3, rather than break down every episode individually for a half hour, because it just, quite honestly, we don't have enough time, and I don't want to sell any of these episodes short, but they're all dropping at once, and there's only so much you can do. So let's do a top 10 moments from Andor episodes 1 through 3. You've got a week to watch 3 episodes, and who are we kidding? I know you're all going to watch it tomorrow anyway. So next week, your homework, your Star Wars homework, is the top 10 moments, not 5. Top 10 moments from Andor episodes 1 to 3. So I think we can do that. What do you think? Think we can do that? Jamie is going to hold on to number 1 since I know it will come from the remainder of episode 6. Yeah, and let us know what your number 1 is for that, Jamie. I'd love to know. Jason says, top 10? Yes. Good. I'm glad. It's going to be busy. I'll have to bring extra water for next week. Ross says, I know I'll have a hard time falling asleep tonight, Ross. It's going to be great, man. Mary says, please post in CWK Cafe. Will be an interesting read. Yes, it sure will. All right, well, let's jump into Ask Dan Z. Minta says, top 10 challenge accepted. You got it. That's going to be fun. All right. Well, again, if you are curious for just a little bit of a taste of what you can expect from Andor, my review is on Coffee with Kenobi's website. It is spoiler-free, but it gives you an idea of the tone. And also, Ross has a great primer on Fantha Tracks about the world of Rogue One, and so definitely check out Ross's post for that. Ben says, are you dropping your interview with Matt on the podcast? The morning was all I missed of that crazy weekend. You know what? I am going to drop the Matt Martin interview because I was really proud of it. I mean, I love Matt. He and I are buddies. I was actually just texting him a little bit ago, and he's just the coolest. So I love the conversation was fun. I've been doing the show for over 9 years, and I've interviewed him on some live stuff, like at some theme park events, but never just old fashioned. I'm in my studio, you're at work or your house, and so fun. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna drop that one. Mary says, Ross, sleeping tonight? Oh no, it's gonna be a long night here in the East. I know. Blake says, can you hint on episode length for those first 3 episodes? I know getting up at 4 a.m. to film 3 episodes before work won't happen. How can I answer that? If I hadn't seen it and I knew in the future what I know now, I would just be at peace with watching a little bit before work and then the rest when I came home. They're not short. They're not short. I'll just say that. I don't want to violate anything, and I know none of you want me to do that, but they're long. In fact, I was talking to one of our friends from the Alliance earlier today, and I suggested to our friend, just be at peace with splitting it up, for sure. Ross says, Mary, Indy is weird and still is on Eastern time. I teach at 8:30, so we'll need some sleep. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Ross, just be awesome, teach, and then come home and just enjoy it. Just stay off of social media until then. I don't think you'll regret it. It's going to be something else. Josh says, I'm concerned staying up to 3 a.m. I wouldn't do that. I mean, again, I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's worth the wait. Don't watch it when you're super tired, or listen, I wouldn't. I tried that for the Book of Boba Fett, and I regretted that because it's hard to get into it because it was so hard for me to stay awake. The discourse will be plenty. There'll be a lot of conversation and discussion, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with all of you next week. All right. That is going to do it for this week's episode of CWK Live. Thanks so much, everybody, for joining me on our new night, Tuesday night. We had more people on the initial show than we have for a while on Monday, so I'm so glad we did the switch to Tuesdays. I hope next week you will join us as we give our top 10 moments. That's right, top 10 moments, because they're going to drop all of them at once, all 3 episodes at once. So get 10 ready for episodes 1 to 3, and join us next week on CWK Live. I want to thank all of you for joining me tonight, for letting everybody know about the show. Write a review on iTunes, on Google Podcasts, on Spotify. Everything you do makes a difference and helps bring attention to the show, which helps to bring more to our amazing community and to grow it. Again, if you're going to be in the Orlando area on September 30th, I will be there in front of the Millennium Falcon at 6 o'clock p.m. at Walt Disney World's Hollywood Studios for a meet and greet. You can celebrate my birthday with me. My wife, Neanna, is going to be there. Clayton Sandell is going to be there. There's going to be a lot of people there you're going to know, and it'll be great to see you there if you can make it. Also, if you can make it, be sure to sign up to join us on the Halcyon next summer, June 12th to the 14th. Go to coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel and make sure to tell them that you're in the Coffee with Kenobi group. All right. Well, hello. Thanks, everybody. It's good to see all of you. Let's see. Terry says, I know it's far ahead, but are you going to wear a costume for the Star Cruiser? Maybe we can get a theme going. I think I'm going to. We'll certainly talk about that as we get closer, Terry. But yeah, I'm going to do something, I think. Josh, we'll see you soon, and thank you for sending that email over. I loved it. I didn't get a chance to respond, but it was really great fun. Ross will watch episode 1 before class and the next 2 at school after class. Smart. That's what I would do. Mean to may the force be with you. Mary, have a great week and enjoy Andor. Ross, looking forward to your take. Blake's, appreciate you so much, man. Thanks for joining us. Jason, have a great week, and thank you for the early birthday wish, Jason. I appreciate that. Ben, enjoy Andor too. I hope you all enjoy Andor. I hope you get plenty of rest. Wake up. Stay off of social media until you watch it. It'll be worth the wait, I promise you. We'll see you next week, everybody. See you then.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.